your baby by the hand.
So when you are looking at this car, what sort of other cars were you looking at as well? What's the competition for this car, would you say?
Competition for this level of car is the Audi Q3, and I test drove that. Whilst it was a nice car, I felt it was let down by its aging looks because it's been on the market for a while, but also I thought the fuel economy was quite poor, so I then set me targets elsewhere. I know that the Range Rover Evoque's in this level, but it was just a little bit too expensive, so the next one was the BMW X1.
Right. Did you look at the Mercedes? Was it the GLA and the VW Tiguan as well or something?
I had a look at the Tiguan, but that wasn't available. I was after the 2016 model, but it hadn't been released. But yeah, I also drove the GLA Mercedes, and that in itself was a little bit more compact than this SUV class.
Right. So what was it that actually made you pull the trigger on this car?
Well, first of all, I did some research, got quite a wide range of vehicles. I was looking at the 18DS drive, but in the end I've elected for the four-wheel drive. So what I've actually...
Four-wheel drive. Why not like the X3? I know the X5 is probably a little bit bigger, but why not the X3 as opposed to the X1?
Again, I thought that this was within a price range.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Because I think these were starting at like 27,500 on the road. Yeah. Obviously, as you build it up and put more options on, then it's obviously going to cost more as well. But what? Go on.
That was one of the factors in actually choosing the vehicle.
Right.
I ended up going for the 20D X line. I had considered the M Sport. The ride was a little bit too harsh, and I wanted a little bit more comfort rather than the Sport.
So are there any differences body-wise between the M Sport and the X line, or do you know what the differences are?
I do. The M Sport is fully colour coded, bumpers, arches, etc. This one, I feel it gives a look of that sportier model, albeit the X line, it looks a little bit more aggressive.
Right.
And
yeah,
the reason being is that you've got contrasting black arches
on the white
on the white, well, on any colour, but I think it works well.
So with the M Sport, it's all white and it's all matching, is it?
All colour coded, one complete colour.
Right. I think you're right in that it gives a bit of a contrast and gives it a bit more of an aggressive look. And what about the engine? Does the engine pull well?
The engine's quite responsive.
Is it the 2 litre or is it the 1.8?
This is the 2 litre derivative, diesel. The 20D, I did consider the 25D, which was the top of the range, but I just thought it was a little bit too expensive, and you're starting to get quite a way between the the fuel economy between the 20D and the 25D,
right,
particularly in the four-wheel drive.
And what have you noticed with regards to like consumption so far?
My analysis of the first 3 months since I've had the vehicle is that it's not particularly good around town in urban areas, stop start, going back and forward.
Is that what you do most of your driving in, or?
Unfortunately, yes, it is. But I've had experiences on long runs, and I must say I'm really pleased with the overall fuel economy on a run when you're on a motorway.
So what sort of figures are you getting on a run?
I've getting as high as 57,
right,
and that's
on a motorway.
On a motorway, doing 60, 70 miles an hour.
Right. And
constantly.
Round
town, it's not so clever. You're getting somewhere in the region of anywhere between 31 and 35. I keep looking. I'm the kind of person that keeps looking at the onboard computer for the fuel consumption.
Yeah.
And it's averaging out around about 37 on the little runs that I do on the motorway. and the combined urban driving. So
do you think you would ever consider a chip which might give it a bit more power and a bit more fuel economy? Or
I certainly would. I think the money that you would potentially outlay,
I think they're only about like 100, 150 quid, something like that on it. So
that would probably have a payback in about anywhere between 6 months to a year. I think it would probably improve the performance and no doubt return on the fuel economy.
So what about the interior? What did you pick this specific interior?
I did.
You picked the colour scheme?
I did. I chose this. Again, there was quite an option available, but in the end I elected for a stone grey, although it looks like a creamy, but it's a stone grey, like ivory leather. I'm getting the gloss finish,
finishes,
with the silver inserts, and the roof line is the same colour as the seats, which gives it a nice airy feel. One thing I would say is that I was advised by the BMW sales guy to go for the gloss finish, and it's something that I regret. I think I would have gone for the whole silver, and the only reason is when you try to keep the car clean, it invariably gets dusty, and once you wipe it with one of these care plan products, it smudges. So I think the silver might have been a little bit more forgiving. That's what I had on the last car, the Mercedes.
So what about options with regards to, like, obviously you've got your CD player, you've got your air conditioning, climate controls. Has it got a USB plug?
It has a USB. It's under the driver armrest storage, which can take either a media USB stick, or it acts as a charger for your mobile phone. It's got Bluetooth. It's got quite a good system for Bluetooth linkage, so it'll link with all of your phone, with the media on your phone. It'll play your downloaded. You can go on to like Spotify or YouTube and still play it through the system. And then you've got your normal linkage for your USB and your CD.
It's stop start, isn't it?
It's stop start technology.
Do you find that sometimes when you've got the heaters on and things, it doesn't actually do the stop start?
It's more likely to stop and start after the engine is warmed up, but it doesn't take very long to get going.
And what about sort of extra options that you had to actually ask for, as opposed to what's above the standard level? Was there anything that you added on to the car?
There was, and therein lies a big problem with the BMW range at the moment. Against the competitors, things that BMW charge you for, you'd probably expect as a standard on most other luxury vehicles, but for this one, I had to even buy
the cruise control.
Cruise control, sorry, that's it, I lost it for a moment. Cruise control. I had to purchase a cruise control.
They don't offer cruise control as standard?
They don't, sorry.
Or a BMW X1?
No, it was an additional £260 for...
How much? Plus the VAT?
I think that was in VAT included.
Anyway, either way, it's a lot of money just to have a feature where most cars have got them fitted any days,
Exactly.
Most of the small cars that you see on the road, they've got them fitted, haven't they?
They have, and as I say, your standard Vauxhalls, Fords, etc., come fully loaded. That's where BMW, I can't father them out. Well, I can, because the BMW after additional funds. I wanted a reversing camera as well, but that was an additional extra, so I just left it as it was with the sensors.
So what is it? Does it come up with a display on the screen? Is it like a ultrasound kind of thing? Is it?
You've got quite a large screen there with your sat nav, and as you reverse, it gives you an image of a car, and then it gives you the parameter points as you get going back towards it. It'll operate on a traffic light basis, amber, green, amber, red, as you're getting closer.
So it's got the angel eyes built in as well, has it?
It has.
Was that an option or was that standard?
That was standard, actually.
Straight on.
Where you you're also getting technology is in their lighting system. Very good lighting system. It seems to have, I couldn't really tell you what they call it, but it's got this kind of follow me light.
Right.
It's not your fog lights going on, it's your actual main beams as you're going slightly, turning the steering wheel to the left or the right.
Jaguar. F-Type. F-Type, is it? Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
As you're turning your steering wheel ever so slightly to the left or the right, it'll illuminate, say, onto the pathway or onto the side of the road.
Oh, right. So it's like active lighting kind of thing, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright. Do you want to take a left up here? Right, so what about these seats as well? Was there an option to get these seats changed? Because I feel like they're just like really small and they don't even can only put half my leg on.
Yeah.
Is there an option with this package? Is there an option to get a different seat?
No.
So you have to go for this seat.
No. What I found was that when I went for the test drive, it was okay because I had it for like half a day. When I sat in and drove it was okay, but it's literally only after I purchased the vehicle. You're absolutely right. They seem to be limited in their adjustment, and certainly I would say the seat base itself, what you sit on, the seat itself is very, very short, and it doesn't actually go right under your
what I would say as well, I've noticed sort of when you're going around corners, the side bolsters don't really do much of a job, so you find yourself sort of like going like side to side like that all the time, don't you? So you really need something which is going to sort of, not necessarily a bucket seat, but something which is going to, the bolsters certainly need to be a lot thicker and bigger, I think.
They need to be a bit more pronounced, and that's where you would probably get with an M3, you get a more harnessed.
Is that the M package, the M Sport package? Is that got the mean?
Sorry, not the M3, the M
Sport.
Yeah. You get a more of a wraparound seat, but with this one, I think it's more aimed for the luxury market. And you're absolutely right. It may as well just be flat across the back surface because there's very little in way of lumbar support. I also feel that the adjustments on the vehicle, this one has got the manual, although you could go for an extra for the electric seats, up and down, and backwards and forwards. This one's got a rake under the seat for putting the seat forward and backwards. It's got a lever on the right hand side of the bolster, which is quite an ergonomic design handle.
Would be handy to just have a few electric controls down there, wouldn't it? And just
would,
sort of move it around,
which you can have, but again, it's
an
that
option,
optional extra at quite a significant cost.
Right. And what about the boot space? Do you find the boot space is adequate enough in this car?
Boot space is one of the plus features of this model. Quite a lot of boot spaces for people with young children. You'll easily get your prams, your buggies, your shopping bags in there. It's got quite a sizable cubic capacity.
Yeah.
The seats, you can either have them where the middle section comes down in the seats, and you can put your skis or long things in there, or alternatively you can have a 60-40 split, and then with all of the seats down, you need to move something of a sizable nature, and it's got capacity to do that. So it's quite a versatile vehicle if you've got to carry things around within reason.
Did you not? Have you ever had anything on the roof? Has it got a roof rack on, or has it got the ability to put an extra roof rack on?
You can. This vehicle has got what they call close rails. They're roof rails in chrome, and it's a specialist fitting that you have to buy for roof bars.
Right.
And all of the main manufacturers, including the dealers, you can buy them, and they clamp on. But you must get the ones which are for roof rails which have no space underneath. But yes, again, it's another option and something which I might consider.
Right. Yeah. So, do you know how much they are or not?
The roof rails, you can get them on any internet
Alright, so they don't necessarily need to be from BMW.
They don't need to be a BMW aftermarket purchase, but They're around about £75 to £100 for a good set.
Right, I'm with you. Right, so how do you find the steering wheel controls? You find they are easy enough to get to with your hands?
Quite tactile.
Do they feel like a good quality button when you press them in?
Yeah, everything's sturdy. You've got your voice control commands if you need it. You've got your mode for all of your audio, telephone control, volumes up and down, and then you've got your on the left hand side you've got the speed limiters, which is on a rocker switch, speed limiters, and you've also got your cruise control function.
So other than the climate control and your heaters and air conditioning, is there anything that you can't actually control from the steering wheel, or can you literally do everything? Obviously you've got your button down here, which you can obviously...
You've got your command control in the centre of the console, with buttons surrounding the circular command control, but largely you have to go in through that command control to control the navigation, the satellite navigation.
And what about the satellite navigation? How do you find it? Do you find it's up to the job, or is it lacking in some areas?
I think it's lacking in terms of this might just be BMW themselves rather than the actual capability of the sat nav. I've looked for a number of postcodes or area locations, and it hasn't been able to find them up. Becomes quite frustrating that it limits the amount of postcodes and options. It'll only allow you to pinpoint, say for example, four digits of a postcode in before it blanks out everything. When
so it doesn't leave any more options.
So it's quite frustrating.
So have you spoken to BMW about that?
I haven't. No. It's something on the list that I'm going to have to do, and I don't know if it's a software upgrade or what.
Right. Sounds like it probably might be a software thing.
Yeah.
So in summary, what would you say are the things that, we'll go first of all, that you maybe you don't like about the car, or you would change about the car, or you would change maybe if you were buying the car again? What sort of things would you like to see different?
First of all, I think the fuel consumption around the doors around your urban areas is disappointing.
Right.
The actual ride itself is average.
What, when you say average, what do you think it's sort of a rough ride? It's not as smooth as you'd like?
It's okay on flat, straight surfaces. Anything else, I've got to say I'm in the middle. I'm not convinced it's brilliant. I think the comfort of the seats could be worked on, and the visuals, the rake of your steering wheel, if you've got it fully retracted and down, you can't see the actual displays. Sorry, if you've got it fully retracted and up in the up position, you can't see the displays on the lower section of your...
I always find that with kind of no matter what car I'm driving, I always have trouble seeing the displays exactly as you need to, and also have the steering wheel in the exact place you want to. You always have to compromise, don't you?
Well, it's dead simple with this one. They've obscured important parts of the display by the top of the steering wheel. Whereas if they had to put it at the top of the actual binnacle, they would have won.
Right. So there's that. There's the seats, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think I don't want to be hypercritical, because overall it's a decent car.
Right. And what about the things that you've really sort of taken a shine to and you really like since you bought the car?
I like the elevated driving position that you get.
Because what were you driving? Was it a B class you were driving before this?
B class Mercedes.
So that's obviously a lot smaller and a lot lower.
Yeah. It did have a slightly higher driving position, but not
as high as this. Yeah.
I think it's its driving position. You can see most of the road and what's going on around you, so that's a plus. The gearbox and the engine is quite responsive. You've got the ability to drive in a manual form with your gear stick, and you've also got the option with paddles on the steering wheel, which I must say I never used it there, but I never used
It's always the thing, like when you first buy a car with those on, you think you might use them, and you might use them once or twice, but then you just kind of forget about them, don't you?
Yeah. So as I say, the engine, gearbox, very responsive, very smooth, and I'm really pleased with the long distance overall fuel economy. It's just getting over that urban driving where it's quite disappointing.
So have you ever taken it like off-road or anything? Not like, I don't mean like proper off-road, but is there any situations where you've had to take the car but it's not necessarily, your car would have got stuck, or no?
I haven't, no, not as yet. I mean, it's early days, but I haven't even put it through its paces, in terms of its four-wheel drive. And by the way, I think you might want to know that it's a constant four-wheel drive,
right.
But apparently that four-wheel drive disengages. It's 70 miles and above.
Why is that?
I've got no idea. Perhaps to give you even more fuel economy,
right.
Given that you've got a 70 mile an hour.
The chances are, if you're driving at 70 miles an hour, you're not going to be needing a 4x4, are you?
No. So it has some technology to switch off. It's 70 mile or 72 mile and above.
I'm surprised it's that high, actually. 70 miles an hour.
It would be handy for to have it out.
Yeah.
But it does, getting away from traffic lights in wet conditions. There's no wheel slip. It's straight off. It's putting the power to the rear and the front.
Yeah.
And it actually
takes off quite nicely.
It decides itself through the computer what ratio needs to sit the front and the back wheels.
So now that you've had this car for 3 months, do you have any regrets about maybe not buying the other cars that you test drove or looked at, or are you happy enough that you've got this car?
I think given what's on the market for the price range, around about the 30, 33, 34k, I think this is the leader, albeit it's got a few little niggly things that I personally would change, but I would let people decide for themselves, and I just hope that what I've said, it's a balanced view. It's not a one where I'm totally sick of certain things. I just little improvements that could be made.
But it looks nice as well, doesn't it? We mentioned like the practicality and things, interior, but looks wise, I think it looks better than the previous generation X1.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, because they're all sort of all the BMW X range, they seem to be following a theme, whereas like I know it's obvious, but they're just bigger versions of each other, aren't they, really?
Yeah, the X1 through the X5, they've got very similar design outlooks in them.
Whereas the previous X1 and, for example, the previous X3 and the previous X5, they all look different. But now I think they're following the same sort of suit. It's just like sort of bigger versions of them,
Yeah, I mean, this is slightly bigger than the previous version of X1, and it looks more muscular. I must say. Again, it's important that you choose the right kind of wheels, because the standard wheels that you get, unless you get up to the 25D model, which is the flagship, you've got to be very careful on the wheels that you chose. I think they make the car.
Yeah, the wheels definitely make the car. No question about that. Right, very good. Well, thank you very much for giving us your in-depth review and knowledge of the car.
No bother.
See you next time.
Will it let us back out of prison the next time?